Okay, good afternoon. We are live. This is Maggie. Welcome to Nurse Training and Advocacy. Today, our topic is how do we create culture in our workplaces? So, I spent a few minutes getting this ready. So, I do hope you guys are able to see the slide on nurse training and advocacy. If you don't, if you'll send me a chat and let me know, I'd appreciate it. I'm also live on Facebook at the channel Nurse Training and Advocacy. Ooh, look at these little cheeks. They're just fat. Anyway, welcome everyone. You might ask yourself, I have my phone for the Facebook and I'm watching my stream there. So it might look like I'm not looking at you, but all is good. How are you guys doing on a Saturday afternoon? Thank you for joining me. You might want to ask yourself, why did she choose that topic? We are going through so much as a country, there's so much going on around the world. And because we are nurses and we are focused on caring for people, there is a lot going on. In addition to medical issues, well, physical issues, we have a lot of mental issues to deal with because the aftermath of COVID and now all the stress of, financial stress with inflation and gas prices. So everybody is a little bit stressed out. Our healthcare professionals, including ourselves, the nurses, we are at the forefront of those issues as well because we were affected by the pandemic. And as parents, moms, we have families, we are also affected. So, the reason I chose this topic is last week we talked about any friction, CNA, nurse relationships. But as we talk to each other, as we talk to nurses who have left the profession, and we ask them, what is the main reason that you're leaving? And invariably, they would say, um, they're working me like a dog. Welcome, whoever joined. They're working me like a dog. I'm stressed out. I'm mentally and physically exhausted. But the main reason that I hear a lot is that management doesn't care. They don't feel like they are cared for in the facilities, in the environment. The example that we have is that nurse that who made that fatal mistake. It was fatal. We all agree. But it was like she was thrown under the bus, that there was no support. They did not, she didn't feel protected. So when I was researching to do these slides, the two main reasons we found, I read, that nurses were leaving the profession, in addition to short staffing and salaries. I think nurses have always worked under those conditions, but they just didn't feel safe and they did not feel connected. Two very important factors. So that's what I want to spend some time exploring with you this evening because I understand. If you recall, I told you I own a business, a couple of them. I own a home care agency. I dealt with nurses and nursing assistants. So I know. And then I work in long term care. So I'm not telling you anything I don't know. I'm telling you how culture is so important. And culture, once you have it established in your workplace, it will carry you through a lot of difficult situations. And what we feel, what I see is that business owners, managers, whoever, whatever title you're giving them, just are not, they're not thoughtful. They're not putting a lot of thought into what that meant. They get caught up with the day to day, the day to day. And it's true. I remember when I had my business, you got to a point, you hire a consultant and it will tell you, you shouldn't be working in the business at a certain level. You need to be working on the business. So managers, administrators business owners, if they spent the time and the thought and the energy to understand and create and maintain the culture, then it wouldn't be so hard to, share that downward to your unit managers, your supervisors, and your nurses. And if you spend some time creating that culture and you intentional, my favorite word, intentional about maintaining, making sure everybody knows what it is, and then every decision that is made is in line with the culture, right? So I'm going to switch to the slides and we're going to go through them because today I don't intend to keep anybody past the 60 minutes. We're not going to be here longer than 1 hour. Okay? Hopefully you're going to stay with me. Let's see how we do this here. There we go. Nurse training and advocacy. I don't know. I like that little logo. What do you think? Give me some feedback. All right. So I explained to you why we are talking about this. This is me. So the title is going to be Creating Culture in the Workplace, that it can be done. But what it takes is intention. Somebody needs to understand what it is and why they would want to spend time and energy into it. But most people don't even think that level. Like I said, we get caught up in the day-to-day staffing, the state. We just don't have any time to spend on that higher level. But culture doesn't really have to be at the leadership level, right? As I explained last week, everybody is a leader in their own environment. The primary nurse is a leader, the CNA is a leader, the unit manager, of course. So it could be at the macro level, it could also be at the micro level. So there is no distinction about culture, okay? Let's keep going. What is culture and why do we need it? Culture can be defined as shared values. It's a belief system, attitude, it's a set of assumptions that people in a workplace live by. Well, you can have culture in society at large, right? So you could say, somebody might say the Spanish culture. So there are certain things that are particular to a group of people. It could encompass also ethnicity. It could be affected by geography, right? I know in a country, we'll say, I know when I go to seminar, they'll say on the West Coast, we do this. On the East Coast, we do that. In the South, we do certain things. So that's culture. Those are things that binds people together. So in a workplace, you need to understand what are some of the things, the belief system. What do we believe about maybe patient care? What do we believe about managing people? What do we believe about staffing? What do we believe about resource allocation? And if you spend time, somebody doesn't just get born and then, they don't grow up in the desert. If you grow up in a group of people, you're going to assimilate, you're going to absorb certain of those traits and characteristics and those values, and you're going to adopt them as your own. That's what makes you part of a culture. Hopefully, I hope you understand that. This is what culture is. It's shared, it values, it beliefs, the things that we believe, the things that we do, the way we do things, okay? As a people, as a group. So, another definition of culture could be the character and personality of your organization. I'm going to ask you a question in the next slide, and I'm just going to wait a few seconds, make you think through those things, okay? Whatever defines your organization, it's what makes it unique, and it's the sum of all of its values. So the next question is, can you name 3 things that make the organization where you're working at right now unique? I'll wait. So think back and say, oh, this particular facility is known for what? Excuse me, forgot to bring water. Can you think about Over in this facility, we remember, just think of the word we, okay? Again, just saying we is a good thing, right? It means collectiveness, it means community, it means a group of people. So if you refer to yourself when you think of your organization as we, I'm relieved. That means, there is a certain understanding of a group of people together. Your organization is known for, I love working here because, answer those questions for yourself. People choose to come to work here because, are people clamoring to come to work for your facility? Is there a waiting list? I know, that's kind of funny, right? Some of the things I love working about around here are, some of the things I love about this place. Can you think about that? If there is culture, it's not going to be hard for you. But if there isn't culture, you're just going to scratch your head saying, well, let's see. What are we known for? What do we do that is unique? What makes us special? That's culture. And it takes time and intention to create that. So, why do we need culture in our organization? We talked about culture in the community, in society, but why do you think we need culture? Because culture binds people together. And when people are bound, it's a lot more difficult to separate them, right? So we're talking about attrition, resignation. Definitely it's going to lower that because people, we hear nurses say in those Facebook group, I'm staying in there because I love my patients. That culture, that's part of culture. They love their patient. Do we say, sometime I think a supervisor may ask someone to do an extra shift, and I would hear sometimes, I just feel bad for her. I just don't want her to stress out so much, so I'm going to do it. That's culture, a culture of caring, of supporting each other. That's good. That's good. So our healthcare facilities are in trouble. I don't have to tell you that. So again, the disconnect that is between management and staff, it's something that it just bothers me, and I don't know um, how we're going to bridge that gap. And I'm hoping that this, presentation such as this, if somebody is watching this, going to your facility, to your management, and just saying, and say, what are we known for? Do we spend any time talking about what kind of facility do we want this place to be? Because let me tell you, if you make a decision that you want to create culture, it's going to take a group of people. Okay? One person cannot stand at the top and say, well, this is going to be, it's going to have to be a community that develops that. So the disconnect, low unemployment rate, we know that. We talked about the great resignation. I think I did a presentation on that. Nurses are leaving at an alarming rate. I mean, I've seen several articles this week looking at this topic. It's from anywhere from 30% to 90%, depending on who's doing the survey. AACN did a survey of, I think, about 200 ICU nurses, and the survey respondent said 90% of them said they're looking to exit out of nursing in the next 24 months. I'm like, oh my God, who's going to take care of me when I need ICU? That's terrible, right? And one thing I read this morning that distressed me too is that we have nurses who are burned out at the bedside. They're going into advanced practice. I'm a nurse practitioner. They're like, well, if we leave the bedside, we're going to be better off. But I keep telling you guys that especially if you're going to work in a hospital or you're going to work primary care, the stress level is just as high. You work as many hours, if not more. I was working 60, 70 hours a week in the last job that I worked. I mean, it wasn't the physical work, but it was all the paperwork and the notes and all that. And then if you're on call for like post-acute care, oh my God, these nurse practitioners, bless their soul, they would be responsible for like 20, 30 facilities from Friday to Monday morning. And when I was a supervisor, I would be calling them one facility, I would, you make several calls to them, and I'm thinking, and they have to call you back. They have to give orders. So I'm thinking, multiply that by 30. That's insane. That is insane. So don't run from nursing to go into advanced practice thinking that it's going to be peachy. Okay, I guess depending on which specialization you choose, but the nurses are leaving. And I did a presentation this midweek to say that um, I was encouraged that people are still wanting to enter the profession, but the rate has slowed down. I remember in the 90s, nursing school couldn't put out enough students because they didn't have faculty. I wanted to teach, but because I didn't have a master's degree, I couldn't teach. But now you have a lot of empty, unfulfilled positions, unfilled position, fulfill, unfilled positions. So I'm not sure we're going to be catching up in time to prevent a catastrophe, because when hospitals don't have nurses, they can't staff the hospital. So that means they can't accept patients, right? And if they don't accept patients, they lose money. If they lose money, there goes your benefit, your salaries. It's a vicious cycle. It's not pretty. High nurse turnover. Nurses are leaving. I retired. Okay? People are burnt out. They're exhausted. It's like a, a freight train, and I'm not sure how we're going to be able to stop it. But this presentation, creating culture, is just a small part of what we can do to retain our nurses and maybe attract some. So I personally believe that I want to focus on what I can control and not the things that I cannot control. I just wish I could have a bunch of administrators and managers in a room and to say, please pay attention to culture. I understand that you don't have any say in what you pay your nurses. You have no say in how many FTEs you hire. The budget and the numbers are already decided for you. You have no control. I get it. But you can create the culture within your facility, and it is not that hard. So if you want to hire me as a consultant, I will come and tell you how to do it, because it's not hard. Some simple steps you can put in just to get people to be connected. You just have to be intentional, you have to be committed to it, and then you have to just dedicate a little bit of resources, maybe a couple of people here and there. Just be creative. Don't just get stuck on this is the way we've done it, and the ship is sinking, but you're not changing course. Doesn't make any sense to me. High pressure work environment, we all know that. And post COVID, what can we say about COVID? COVID has caused so much havoc. And again, COVID did not create the problem that we're having right now, it just exacerbated it. So now we have nurses with PTSD. That's the problem. So if they have PTSD because they were confronted with so many deaths, I think that's one of the things that affected nurses and EMTs a lot, is the number of people that were dying in front of them day in and day out. I was a CCU nurse, and I remember I took a break one time because we kept getting some young people coming in and dropping dead of a heart attack. And mentally, it did something to me, but I realized what it was, and I took some time off. So that's the thing. PTSD, you have to recognize it and you got to treat it. Okay. So this gives you an idea of what we're dealing with right now. Not that you didn't already know that. So, one possible solution, like I said, I don't have a magic ball. I don't have billions of dollars to throw at facilities to hire more people, because you hear them tell you, hire more people, show respect, show that you care. Those things are intangibles. You can do those things, but it takes somebody with that leadership vision to do that. And again, I keep posting some questions on these Facebook group just to get, it's like a poll just to get a feel for what people are feeling. And just telling you, they have these administrators, and I know I work with several of them. They're really young males that are taking these jobs. They don't have a lot of work experience, and then you have these people inside in charge of a whole facility of like 180 residents, maybe, I don't know, 100 staff members. That is a lot of responsibility for a young person who doesn't have any experience. Okay. I'm not knocking it down, but a lot of things you learn after you've been in the trenches for a while. You can't take a new grad and throw them in those situations and then give them the mentoring. Should be 6 months to a year for them to get their feet wet. But I'm sure if I were to poll them, they would tell me they didn't get that. Yeah, they'll tell you, you call so and you go in that program and you get that report. That's not what I'm talking about. My training is usually focused on more soft skills, not the tangible, technical. That's not my thing. That's not my forte. Okay. So, culture, again, that's soft. All right. Ooh, the dog. So, why are our nurses leaving? Again, you know that, but I wanted to address the safety concern. In addition to nurses saying there was no culture, they didn't feel connected to the facility, they felt exposed in that nobody had their back. Nurses felt unsafe. I can relate to that. COVID exposed a lack, a culture of uncaring in our facilities. Let's say it. And this is my program. I can say it whether somebody likes it or not. But when COVID hit, when we're not given any masks, I was told as a supervisor to take a 3M very thin blue mask, give one to the staff member. She goes around and takes care of 20 patients, exposure, exposure, exposure. And then she had to return that mask to me at the end of the shift, put it in a little brown paper bag. And I'm like, okay, so she has to come the next day and reuse that mask. And we are nurses, right? We're supposed to practice infection control, and the management were themselves telling us to reuse those masks. You might as well tell me going without a mask, right? I'm probably better protected than reusing a mask that has been exposed to about 20, 25 residents. And then at one point, I was told, oh, you can spray them with Lysol. So that shows to me you did not give a flip about my health or my safety. Okay. So facilities didn't start providing masks until the government came in or made it mandated it. It was crazy. And then now nurses are still saying they have COVID patients, but they're out there in the group. I had patients who were symptomatic. I told my facility, I said, you need to test those people. They're exposing the staff, visitors, everybody. I come back a week later, patients were not tested. So for a whole week, they kept spreading that virus around. I caught it. So I wasn't protected. I wasn't safe. And when I was in my hospital, I didn't get a phone call to say, how are you feeling? I didn't get an offer to say, oh, can we help you with your bills? I got hospital bills. So nurses are not protected. So as a whole, the industry is not caring about the people who are frontline workers delivering the care. How many doctors, that doctor who died in the hospital asking for pain medication, was treated like she was a drug addict? This is the culture that we are living with. Safety. When something happened, they're going to throw you under the bus. And as a nurse, and I tell nurses all the time, make sure you know your rights. Make sure you practice defensively. You document the way you're supposed to document. You go up the chain if you need to. Don't give a drug if you don't have to. Get a second person to look at a drug with you if you have a question. Because if Anything happens, it's on you. I say that so many times. And then that poor nurse, when whatever hit the fan, what happened? She was the only one out of the whole system that was thrown under the bus. They would have sent her to jail if we as a community did make a lot of noise. So nurses, I'm telling you, these nurses, going back to what I was saying, nurses leaving the bedside to go into nurse practitioner school. These two nurses said, I am 4 classes away from graduating, but I'm done. I want to leave the profession. I don't want to do anything. I don't want anything to do with it. This is what we're dealing with. They're not saying they're coming back. They're not taking a sabbatical. They're leaving. That's going to create a problem. Okay. Lack of support, burnout, COVID death, PTSD. We talked about that already. Shortage. I don't have to say anything about that. The vaccine mandate. A lot of our peers have left because they don't want the vaccine. And I'm not going to get into that. Retirement. Salaries a benefit. That's always been a problem. Even though I read that with COVID, the salaries have increased. But do you know one thing I read this week that kind of got me? Male nurses are making $14,000 more than female nurses. I rest my case. I was like, seriously? In a female dominated profession, the males come in and they're making more money. Okay. Work overload, staffing ratios, constant issue for us. So, what are some possible solutions? We know what they are. You have to hire sensibly, right? In healthcare nowadays, you know how it goes. If you have a license, you hired. If you're a CNA, you say, I have a piece of paper, a certificate, you hired. There is no interviewing. They don't ask you about your work habits. They do the references because they have to. It's insane. It's totally insane. Salaries and benefit, as I said, we can always improve on those. Training, isn't that a problem for your facility? How much training are you getting? How much training are your supervisors getting? How much training, your EDs, they go to corporate to get their training, so we don't know. They get to learn about all the regs and how to keep the facility out of trouble, how to make sure the budget is you know, on point, that they don't go over budget and all that. But there is no human management training. Yes, they'll tell you when to fire, how to protect them from liabilities, right? Mm-hmm. Reshuffling. You could change how you deliver care. That's what I talk about a lot. And I think I'm going to do another training about that. But you can redesign how you provide care. If something is not working, you can change it. If you short staff, you can shuffle things around. And you have to invest in technology. I think that's one of the solutions that I read about for the nursing shortage. I keep saying that too. From the 80s to now, every time they say they're going to shuffle, they're going to improve care, that means more work for us nurses. Oh, we're going to take the IQ checks because they're not accurate from the CNAs. Let the nurses do it. Oh, the vital signs are not accurate. We're going to put it under nurse. The nurse, the nurse, the nurse, the nurse. So, how is the nurse supposed to do all that and still take care of her patients with still increased ratio? ICU nurses are saying now they're 4-to-1. It used to be 2-to-1. When we had somebody that was really sick when I was in the CCU, like say on the balloon pump, it was 1-to-1, but not anymore. The nurses are just stressed out because when you're in an ICU, somebody's so unstable. I don't know how you can take care of 4 people. How can you be in 4 places at the same time, taking care of somebody who can just die in a minute or two. That's too much responsibility. That's too much on somebody's psyche. But the manager, people in the office, they don't understand that. Or they just choose not to understand. Oh, this is why you're losing people. It's the culture of uncaring and create culture. So this is, I can help with investing with technology. The work redesign, yes, I can give some insight. Reshuffling, yeah, that would go with the work redesign. Training, yes, I can. Oh, there's a lot I can do, right? Salaries, no, can do. Hiring, what you can do with hiring is you need to hire people once you develop your culture, people who are in line with your culture. But because of the nursing shortage, they just want a body. And people will tell you, the staff will tell you, they just want. I just saw a meme earlier. They said this supervisor is looking at you because you're just acting out and just not doing right. And he knows he can't send you home because they need you as a body. I know how many times I wanted to tell somebody, don't come to work, please. And if you ask the staff, they'll tell you they'd rather work short than work with some people. Some people don't believe in healthcare. Not believe, don't belong in healthcare. I know an ICU nurse who decided to leave and go drive a truck with her husband and did the long hauls. It's like, yeah, she needed to go. So I am a proponent of doing personality testing just to see what makes people tick, because there are certain traits that you need in order for you to be a good nurse or work in healthcare. Like this nurse said, I don't even know how I end up in nursing because I don't even like people. Okay. If you don't like people, what are you doing? Okay. So, what can culture do for us? It creates a sense of belonging. It's the we, not I, it's the we. It attracts talent, the right talent. People who want to be part of the we will want to be with the we. But if somebody is just like uppity, going around, disconnected, they won't want to be in a place where we have we. They'll be uncomfortable. Increase engagement. Okay. I remember when I was in the hospital years ago, they used to have this company that did some engagement survey, they called it, because based on that, then they knew they needed to take some steps to create programs and situations where the staff felt connected. I remember with the first job that I worked in home health, it was owned by a private company. And when we had monthly meetings, they would bring barbecue and other things. That was good. Every year we had a family picnic where the families came, the children. That's creating cohesiveness, engagement. But if you don't want to spend $1,000 to have a picnic and you just obsessing about the numbers and not seeing the value of such activities, you're not going to create culture. You have to be committed. And when you're committed, you're going to put your money where your mouth is. You're not just going to say things. And that's why if you create certain things in your culture, let's say employee engagement, employee recognition, you're not going to go down that hall and not talk to anybody, as I've seen done many times from management. Mm-mm. And that's going to create increased job satisfaction. Nurses and healthcare workers, they're not motivated just by money. We all know that. Some people can work in a place where they're not making a lot of money, but they will value the intangible. They'll value how they treat it. They'll value the cohesiveness. They'll value the sense of family. They'll value the sense of respect. They'll value the sense that you got their back. Because I remember when I had my agency, when I had a patient complaint, I always interview both the employee and the patient, and I did not always side with the patient. The thing about the patient is always right is not true. So how many times our organizations, they go sell something. So your marketing people go out there and they tell these companies, oh, we're going to roll the red carpet. You're going to get a five-star meal every evening. We're going to serve you meals, fine dining, porcelain, whatever. Oh, you're going to get a shower every day. Somebody is going to be combing your hair. They promise them the world, but yet they're dealing with like minimal skeletal staffing, right? So when the patient comes in the family and they don't get that service, they think you lied to them and they take it out on us. So your employers are setting you up. They're not creating a culture where you feel valued and protected. You're not protected. You are not protected. So, where do we begin creating culture? Leadership has to be involved, okay? It starts from the top. If you don't remember anything I said today, remember that it starts at the top. If your leaders are not committed, don't see the value, wasting your time. Once leadership decides, management gets a buy in. You write your mission, vision statement, and your values. Remember the values? And you draft your policies and procedures to reflect that. Everything ties in together, guys. It's not like culture is not this little thing you put on the side. Culture is like the breath of the organization. You live it every single day, in every interaction, in every action, in every communication. Oh my God. Sometimes I get a little bit frustrated because I see something that is so easy and so powerful, but yet people are clueless about an organization is just the walls and the people and the job. It takes a lot more than that to create relationships within the organization, right? So you have to have intention, the steps. First of all, they have to decide, okay, we realize, sometimes they ask you when you leave a job. I did a poll this week and I think 80% of the people responded said, every job I have left, it's because of management. It's not the coworker. It's not the patient. It's not even the workload. And we know the workload is insane. We are workhorses. We work hard. But when we don't feel appreciated for all the hard work, that's what the problem is. And that's when we quit. So if you're a leader, you have to say, oh, okay, this person said she left because there was a disconnect. What are we going to do about it? Gather a group of people, say, what are our values? What do we want to be known for? How do we want to run this organization? And you don't have to make it difficult. You can't use 3, 4 things, and we're going to go over a few of them. I'm watching the time because, like I said, I want to make sure we're out of here by 7. Choose your values. What is it that's going to drive you? What are you going to be committed to live every single day in your organization? And like I said, if you're an ED or a DON, you can have that. Get your team together and see, my nursing team, what values do we want to identify for ourselves? And you can just pick 3. And then let those 3 drive you and then take it forward. Give your team their marching orders and monitor and live it every day. I'm telling you, you got to take a long view. You can't say, I want to see that done in a month. It's not going to happen. All right. When you grow up in a family, in a community, it's a lifetime, right? So why would you expect this to be done in 3 months? That's insane. Get the buy-in from your team. If you're a leader, my definition of a leader is someone who's able to make a team dream, do things that they really had no idea, right? If you can inspire people to be inspired, you're a leader. A leader is not the one who can just give orders and pay the bills and That's not what a leader is. All right. Draft your mission vision around your chosen values. Values, again, are principles, standards of behavior, what you want to stand for, be known for. We talked about that. So, for example, excellence could be one of your values, even though it's a little bit broad, but you can decide based on what. Kindness. Oh, we need so much kindness in this world. But if you're not a kind person at the top, it's going to be difficult for you to adopt kindness as a value. So thereby is a problem that we have is the leaders that they choose to lead us. They themselves should go through that personality testing to see their traits before they enter this profession. God knows we've worked with some of them. We are working with them right now. And they are a big reason for the issues that we are experiencing now. Equity. Are you treating everybody the same, or do you have your little cliques? Like I had this DON. She'd go to happy hour with this particular person. How are you going to supervise and lead somebody that you're going to drink with? Okay. I had one who was sleeping with the husband of this other one. It's just a mess. Of course, we're dealing with people, things are going to happen. But when you're in a position of leadership, there's certain standard. You are held to a different set of standard. And they need to hold you to it. Not just if the budget it goes haywire, not if you don't meet budget. That shouldn't be what your evaluation is based on. Ask the staff and they'll tell you. Accountability. Everybody should be accountable. That's a good one. Open communication, I think, should be standard. It's kind of sad that we have to put that as a value because communication should be open anyway. I had a director, she was my boss. She used to say, my door is always open, and it was always open. But we have some I go to facilities where the deal when the door is always locked and it says something about don't disturb or something like that. How are you gonna have open communication if people can't come in and talk to you? If you're in a meeting, yes, we used to have that says in meeting. Okay, I get that. But otherwise, your staff should feel comfortable coming in talking to you. Now, I'm not going to sit there and talk to you for 15 minutes because I have a short attention span. But if they need to feel that it's open and your body language should be open, you're going to say, hello, come in. And then you're not paying attention, you're not engaging. I don't think I need to do a class on communication, do I? Come on. Trust. That's a big one. Can you trust your teammates? Or is there a sense of distrust that this CNA is going to set you up by not telling you that this patient is having this issue? I've seen that happen. Are you going to have a nurse who doesn't like you but is going to try to let you hang yourself with it? Just people are mean. That doesn't mean you put your guard down all the time, but we have to work hard at creating a sense of that we trust each other. Those facilities that threw that nurse under the bus, hopefully they're doing a lot of remedial, to just get the staff to trust them because there was no trust manifested in that situation. Okay. And if I feel like I'm working for a company and I can trust you, I don't think I'm gonna stay. Not me. Teamwork should be a big one. Integrity. Ooh, that's a big one. I just don't like to work in a place where people are lying and cheating and, um, you know, DON asking you to rewrite a note so they don't get tagged by the state. As providers, sometimes we are asked to rewrite something. It's like, oh, hell to the no. Or I've had DON ask me to give a patient this and that, and I'm like, if the patient doesn't, if my assessment doesn't say the patient needs that, they're not going to get it. You can call somebody else to do it. I'm not doing it. Okay. So we have to know how to, hold our ground. So support. Support, support. Support means that when your team does something that maybe is not per policy or whatever, don't throw it under the bus. You can do some remediation in a kind way, but they feel like you have their back, that you're going to help them out. You're not going to say, "Up, you're on your own. You didn't follow policy. Bye." Don't do that. Honesty, fairness, inclusion. No clicks, no clicks, no clicks. How do you implement the values? Once you've chosen three or four of the ones, there are others too, but for example, the ones that I mentioned earlier, you're going to draft your mission and vision. Now, in your facilities, the mission and vision are crafted by corporate. We know that. Do you know it? Can you say it? Does it mean anything to you? Is it reflected in your day to day? Probably not. But I think if I was a director of nursing, I could have my own little mission and they say, well, guys, how about we come up with three or four things that we're going to make sure goes through the fabric of our team? You can do that. Don't call it a mission vision so that corporate doesn't say, oh, she's doing this on her own, but you could do this on the side. Okay. So if a facility, for example, if you had a facility or a corporate entity that is committed to creating culture, once if you go on a website or any big organization, they pay people thousands of dollars to help companies come up with these things, okay? So you're going to see the mission written somewhere, you're going to see the vision written somewhere, okay? And sometimes they say when Jake will come around, sometimes they ask you, do you know what the mission statement is? And it'll be posted somewhere on the wall. Take a look at it and see if it reflects your organization. Should be on your website, should be in your brochures, all your social media platforms, any forms, document, post it everywhere so people can um, embrace it and internalize it. But if it's somewhere hidden in some obscure document, it's not a living, breathing thing. So it means nothing. Okay? Review at all meetings. I think all meetings should say we're going to review our mission statement just to make sure everybody is aware that we need to live it out every day. Our vision is this. I would do it. I would put it somewhere on my maybe in my email signature. I would put it somewhere just to make sure. That's how you share. And it takes practice and repetition for people to embrace different things, okay? New information. And at orientation, of course, and all your annuals, all the annual, how do they call that? Competencies, communication, email, like I said, and leadership should embrace that and model it. Model it. So, as a leader, that is your job to live out your mission and your vision every single day. And if your team sees you living it out, they're going to follow suit. You may not get 100%. There's always going to be an oddball there, but we're looking for majority. An example of a mission and vision statement that create around values, right? So you had a meeting at KPG Health and Rehab, and you say our values are going to be excellence, inclusion, equity, positive communication, and teamwork. Easy, right? So our mission statement, hopefully you can read that. I just did that on my own, okay? KPG is dedicated to creating an environment where patients or residents can thrive by meeting health and rehab goals. This is accomplished by creating and developing teams that are inclusive, supportive of each other through positive communication. Bam. You just encapsulate your values in that mission statement. Now, your vision is like long term, that's a long range goal. This is what the community is going to see. Your vision is, your mission is more internal, vision is more external. To become a leader in the provision of post acute and long term care services, through meeting or exceeding quality benchmarks, creating an engaged workforce, and maintaining a dynamic and a nurturing work environment. Bam, easy. You would post that everywhere so that people know. There is no, it's not a secret. This is words to live by. This is what we're going to breathe and live. This is culture. Okay? Excellence, inclusion, and equity. Those are our values that we picked at KPG. So, how do we live it out every single day? We expect nothing less than the best from all team members. No slacking off, no negative communication. And as supervisors, if you have a team member who is not living out those values, you need to have a little chat. It doesn't have to be formal, it doesn't have to be punitive, but it's just a reminder. Oh, we don't talk like that over here. Oh, here we support each other, right? If the light is ringing and then the CNA is passing by, we say, I'm sorry, can you say that light? Well, that's not my room. Well, here we take care of the resident. Please go answer the light. Okay? You just support that. And if you keep reinforcing that, the next time that CNA is going to pass, she's going to stop. And if she refuses and continually does not follow, doesn't live out that value, you can start making things a little bit more formal. Okay? You just can't let things go. Hire and retain the best. Unfortunately, right now, we're just doing the bodies. We just want a warm body, the warm body syndrome, which is totally counterproductive. Okay? I'm telling you, it doesn't work. Shared governance means that you have your teammate involved in that process. You have them involved in the crafting of your vision and picking out your values, and then how are we going to roll it out? All right. And they're going to, if you get them involved, I promise you, they're going to come up with really creative ways on how you can do that. Sometimes I'm like, wow, dang, I didn't think about that. you know? Get some CNAs involved, get people involved. When you get people in the lower type of jobs involved in stuff like that, they feel so valued. And I'm telling you, they give you such great insight. It's amazing. Try it. Create and demonstrate a supportive environment. Always support your nurses. But I'm telling you, when I had my business and I went travel and I told the staff, don't call me unless a place, burns down. And then I said, if you know how I think, you know my values. So if you need to make decisions based on those values. And if something happens, we'll take care of it. I used to tell the staff, did anybody die because of the decision you made? No, Miss Maggie. Okay, then let's see what we can do to fix it. Right? Some people are just so intense about showing somebody's made a mistake and try to point it out. And that's not supportive. That is not a good environment for anybody to work in. All right? Demonstrate your values every single day. If you say equity, inclusion, no clicks, talk to everybody. Don't just go sit with this little group and alienate this other one. Inclusion, live it out every single day. Reinforce those values. Support your team. Promote a sense of safety. Let your team know that they're not by themselves. You got their backs, right? Foster a sense of belonging, family activities, picnics, potlucks, birthdays, anniversaries, applause, anything just to celebrate. Find reasons to party, to have a celebration. Okay? It can't be, oh, you need a way to people to relax. And CNA week, nurses week, it's wonderful to do this thing once a week. But I mean once a year. What about the rest of the year? What about the rest of the year? Why does it have to be only once a year? And that's another thing. Have somebody designated, not the activity people. Sometimes I see them just having little crayons for the patients to do. They need to do a little bit more. Be more creative. Involve the staff. Do things for the staff. Don't just ignore the staff and just do things for the patient. Mm-mm. We're right on time. 5 more minutes. Creating culture requires an acknowledgement that you need it. If you don't see the need for it, everything I've said for the last 55 minutes mean nothing. If you don't see that you have a need to create an environment for your team to coalesce together, to become a team, have each other's back, celebrate, kind of reduce all the tension and the negativity that's happening in there and relate to your team, spend time with them. If you don't see that, then forget it. You have to acknowledge that you need it. You have to have intention. And I know you feel like it's too much work, but I'm here. If I'm going to do it for you, I will. Commitment at the macro level, that means the leadership. Micro, unit level. Macro could mean the building. Micro could mean the nursing team. That block of room could be the unit. Take a long range view. Don't expect things to change in 3 months or 6 months. This is a long term project. Have regular revisions. Every year, you need to evaluate. You know, people used to have, what do they call that? They go off on retreats. They used to have retreats, which is where they revisit their vision, their mission, and reevaluate. You can do that. You can do that with your team. Ongoing focused attention. You can't afford to let things go. Culture is going to breed connectedness, a sense of belonging, teamwork, a positive work environment, and I know all about that. Camaraderie, job satisfaction. If you're going to spend 8, 12 hours in a place, it cannot be gloom and doom and all stress all the time. That's just not good. That's going to wear you down. Okay? And that's it. You guys, I kept my word. 57 minutes. I kept us to less than an hour. I hope you enjoy this. I did not see any question in the chat. I usually don't have any question. I wish we could be a little bit more interactive, that you guys can talk to me, but I don't see anything. So I hope you enjoy this. Next week, probably I'm just going to just do ad lib and not just classes, but I'm going to post this video. It's going to be on the Nurse Training and Advocacy on Facebook and also on YouTube. So I hope you enjoyed it. And there is a lot more when this came from. I'm just excited about sharing and teaching. So I hope you could see that. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.